Think about a cookie, and you likely picture a childhood kitchen, a warm oven, and a recipe passed down through generations. It is a universal shorthand for wholesome, handmade nostalgia. But the ancestor of every cookie on Earth did not start in a grandmother's kitchen. It started in 7th century Persia, when bakers pinched off small pieces of cake batter and threw them into their erratic stone ovens to test the wildly fluctuating temperatures. Those tiny test cakes were never supposed to be eaten. They were a workaround. Ruining an entire batch of expensive cake batter was financial ruin for a baker, so they used these small dough lumps as a quality control mechanism. The cookie was born from a need for efficiency. Today, cookies are a $43 billion global industry. They sit in every pantry, in every lunchbox, and airport terminal on the planet. But the history of the modern snack aisle is a sequence of accidents, acquisitions, and branding campaigns that replace the truth with something easier to sell. The cozy kitchen story is a very successful bit of branding, one that obscures a much stranger and often more calculated reality. For most of human history, cookies were baked one at a time, by hand, for people in the immediate community. The Industrial Revolution transformed that localized craft into a mass-produced commodity, rolling off assembly lines by the millions. In 1830s England, a company called Huntley and Palmer's scaled their cookie production using machines and standardized recipes. But their true innovation was putting those baked goods into elaborately decorated metal tins. These durable containers kept the cookies fresh during long sea voyages, allowing them to be exported all over the world. People kept those tins long after the cookies were eaten. They sat on kitchen mantels and shelves in dozens of countries. Every time someone looked at the tin, they awed the brand. That 19th century innovation established a blueprint for the modern snack industry. The container acts as the advertisement, and the packaging defines the value of the product inside. Once cookies became commodities, corporations realized they could win the market not by inventing something new, but by rewriting the history of what already existed. Take the chocolate sandwich cookie. In 1908, Sunshine Biscuits launched a product called Hydrox. 4 years later, the National Biscuit Company, now known as Nabisco, released an identical chocolate and cream cookie. They called it the Oreo. This chart shows the timeline of advertising spend for both companies. Sunshine Biscuits had the head start and the original product, but Nabisco used massive, continuous injections of capital to scale their advertising budget, slowly overwhelming Sunshine's presence in the market. Nabisco targeted families with aggressive ad campaigns and invented the twist, lick, dunk ritual, turning the act of eating a copy of cookie into a branded household experience. Nabisco's financial scale eventually buried the competition. Today, the original innovator is largely forgotten, and the copycat has sold over 500 billion units to a public that believes it is the original. Corporate storytelling can also be used to minimize professional skill in favor of a more marketable legend. Ruth Graves Wakefield was a highly trained dietitian and professional chef who ran the famous Toll House Inn. In the 1930s, she deliberately engineered a new recipe by adding specific cuts of semi-sweet chocolate to a butterscotch nut cookie dough, knowing exactly how the ingredients would react. Nestle, however, promoted a very different narrative, that Wakefield was a home cook who accidentally dropped chocolate pieces into her batter and was shocked when they didn't melt. Wakefield eventually traded the rights to her recipe and the Toll House name for exactly $1 and a lifetime supply of chocolate. Nestle leaned into the myth of the bumbling home cook. A spontaneous accident feels relatable and magical, which moves more product than acknowledging the rigorous scientific recipe development of a professional chef. In some cases, the myth-making is tied to larger historical tragedies that allow an entire cultural legacy to be reassigned. The fortune cookie does not exist in China. It originated in bakeries near Kyoto, Japan in the late 19th century, and was brought to California by Japanese immigrants who served them in tea gardens and local shops. Following the bombing of Pearl Harbor in 1941, the U.S. government signed an executive order that relocated nearly 120,000 Japanese Americans into internment camps. The Japanese bakeries in California were forced to shut down. While the original creators were imprisoned, Chinese-American entrepreneurs began producing a sweeter, vanilla-based version of the cookies to serve as a dessert course in their own restaurants. Within a few decades, the transfer was complete. A Japanese invention was stripped of its origins and successfully marketed as a staple of Chinese dining. The most successful corporate image in the snack world is arguably the one that looks the least like a corporation at all. The Girl Scout cookie season sells an image of local, grassroots fundraising, but the financial reality operates on industrial production lines. These cookies are manufactured by two massive commercial bakeries, one of which is owned by Ferrero, the Italian multinational giant. The corporate bakeries pull in an estimated $260 million every year from the arrangement, while the local troops keep only a fraction of the profits from each box. The image of young girls pulling wagons through neighborhoods serves as highly effective marketing labor for a billion-dollar corporate supply chain. The $43 billion cookie market continues to grow, built on the work of forgotten innovators and the rebranding of stolen ideas. At every major turning point over the last 1,300 years, the complicated truth was set aside. The marketable version of the story, the one that felt warmer and simpler, was the one chosen to survive. The ingredients remain the same, and the baked goods still taste incredible, but our perception of where they come from is largely a construction.